Hello Year 5s and welcome to your maths lesson. We're going to go straight into it today. Hopefully you've been practicing your fractions from last week and using that knowledge to apply into your activities. We're going to continue with fractions today. We're going to be looking at ordering and comparing fractions. But first we're going to do our fast 6 today. So this is your fast 6 questions. So pause your video and have a go at answering those 6 questions and see how you can do. Good luck. Great, so hopefully you've managed to give it a go and you've tried all 6 questions and let's see how well you did. Right, the first question, 560 divided by 7. Hopefully now you've been using your mental calculations to help you to work these out. Okay, instead of doing your bus stop, you can be looking at this number and you can say, right, the fact that it ends on a 0 is going to be telling us that we can try and use our mental calculation first. So if I ignore the 0 and I say, do I know what 56 divided by 7 is? Hopefully you've said yes, because you know your times tables really well, and you say it's 8. And then however many zeros I have afterwards, I add them in. Okay, so my first answer is going to be 80. Right, number 2 is 6.45 times 4. So I'm going to set out my work nice and neatly. Okay. And making sure I'm copying down the numbers correctly. Right, and I start. 4 times 5 is 20, carry the 2. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 2 is 18, carry the 1. And 4 times 6 is 24, plus the 1 is 25. And now what must I not forget to do in my answer is make sure that I have that decimal point. Now there are 2 digits after the decimal. So I'm going to make sure that there are 2 digits after the decimal and I'm going to put it in my answer. Okay, making sure that it is very clearly written in the answer. Right, so this answer is going to be 25.80. If you wrote just 0.8, that is also correct. Okay, but 80 is also fine. Right, double this number. So I like to take, when I'm doubling or halving, I like to break up the number. Okay. Now you could just multiply this number by 2 as well with your vertical, all right? But I'm going to break up the number into expanded form. I just find it helps. Right, and I say, right, double 400 is going to be 800. Double 30 is going to be 60. And double 6 is going to be 12. And if I add all those numbers together, I'm going to get an answer of 872. Okay, 872. If you multiplied by 2 and you did the vertical method, you would get exactly the same answer. So 872. Right, the next one, we're going to round this number to the nearest 10th, which means the 1 decimal place afterwards. So I'm going to go to the 1 decimal place, which is here, our 10th column. I'm going to underline the next number next door. Remember, if it's 5 or more, I'm going to raise the score. So I'm going to raise the number that I've circled and it's going to round up. So it's going to become a 4. And then I leave the numbers to the left exactly the same. And the reason why I don't put a 0 here, which is like we normally do in our normal rounding, okay, is because I only want 1 decimal place, okay? So here I've got 1 digit after decimal, so I'm feeling happy. Remember to go and check your answers as well. Question number 5. I'm just going to give myself some space here. So question number 5, I say 34, subtract 7.21. Now remember, if they don't give me the decimal, I write the decimal in and I put 0. So if they give me a whole number, I always have a decimal and then 2 zeros afterwards, and then I can put the number exactly the same, copying it down, and my decimal does not move. Oh, that's a very big decimal. Let's make that a little smaller. Right, my decimal does not move now in the answer, so I'm going to put it in the answer straight away so that I don't forget it. Right, and now I'm going to go do a subtraction. I'm going to circle the subtraction to make sure that I am actually subtracting these 2 numbers. So 0 minus 1 I can't do, so I go next door. Still cannot borrow, so I go next door. So I'm going to borrow there and regroup. 10 is not going to help me, so I still need to borrow and then regroup. Right, 10 minus 1 I can do now. 9. 9 minus 2 is 7. 3 minus 7 I can't do, so I need to go and regroup. 13 minus 7 I can do, which is 6. And 2 minus nothing is 2. Okay, so let's just double check. That is 9. Yes. And that's happy. Right, and we're all happy. I just did a quick check there to make sure that my answer is correct. Right, so you should have got the answer 26.79. Right, and then the last bit is using our fraction knowledge from last week, okay? So it says there that I need to order these fractions from smallest to largest. Now, first of all, they all have different denominators, and I even have a mixed number. So what I need to first do is make them all into the same denominator, okay? So first of all, I'm going to change this mixed number into an improper fraction. So the method I do is I say 5 times 1 is 5, and then I add the numerator. So I say 5 times 1 is 5, and 5 plus 3 is 8, and I leave the bottom number the same. Then I have 3/4, and I have a half. Now, I need to make equivalent fractions with all these numbers, and I've got to decide which number will all these numbers go into. So if I look at the biggest number, 5, and I say, right, double 5 is 10. Can 4 go into 10 equally? No, it cannot. So what other number could I make where all of them can go in equally? So I'll try the next one, which would be 15. That also can't. But the next one is 20. Can 4 go into 20? Yes. Can 2 go into 20? Yes. So I'm going to make them all over 20. And now I'm making equivalent fractions. They all need to have the same denominator. Otherwise, I cannot compare them. Right, so I'm going to say, what did I do to 5 to get 20? I times it by 4. So whatever I do to the one number, I need to do to the other number. And 8 times 4 is 32. Right, 4. What did I do to 4? I multiplied it by 5 to get 20. So I need to multiply the 3 by 5. I get 15/20. And what I do to the 2 to get 20, I multiply by 10. So with the 1, I need to also multiply it by 10, and now I get 10/20. And now that I have all these fractions, I can then decide which is the smallest to the largest. So now I look at the top numbers. Which one of there is the smallest? It is 10/20. So I'm going to write the original fraction, which is a half, which is the next smallest number the next largest number, because I'm going from smallest to largest, which is 15. And what's the original number? 3/4. And the last one that I have, which is the biggest number, is going to be 1 3/5. Remember, I need to write the original number. Okay, so using lots of knowledge there, we had to change this into an improper fraction. We had to use our equivalent knowledge. And then we would have to write the original fraction, seeing which one is the smallest to the largest. So hopefully you managed to do that. If not, suggest you go back and rewatch this section just so that you know exactly what to do. Right, here is your big question today. So have a little think, which one is bigger, all right? And at the bottom here, which one of these questions is easier to answer and why? So you can pause the video now and have a go at answering that. Right, let's have a look at this one. Right, first of all, both these denominators are the same, which makes it very easy for me to work out which one is bigger. Is it 2/8 or 6/8? Now that would then answer this question as to why this question is easier, okay, because they both have the same denominator. So I don't have to do any form of calculation to work out equivalent fractions to get the same denominator. So is 2 or 6 bigger? 6 is going to be bigger, so my 6/8 fraction is bigger. Right, now I have a fraction where it says I have 3/6 and I have 6/9. Now, these are not the same denominators. Now, in order to compare, we need to make sure that we have the same denominators. So what can I do to make these denominators the same? I can make equivalent fractions. So what number can both 6 and 9 go into? And hopefully you would tell me 18. Now, generally, a little helpful hint here is we look at the biggest number, so 6 and 9, and we just double it, and we get 18, and we say, can the other number go into 18? Yes, it can. So again, find the bigger number. 9 is the bigger number out of 6 and 9. If you multiply it by 2, it gets 18. Can the other number go into 18? Yes, it can. So that's a little bit more helpful. Right. Now I've got to make my equivalent fraction. What did I do to the 6 to get 18? I multiplied it by 3. So I must do the same to the numerator, and I get 9. And then what did I do to the 9 to get 18? I multiplied it by 2. So I must do the same to the 6. I must also multiply by 2, and I get 12. And now which one of those is bigger? Is the 9 18ths bigger or the 12 18ths? I always look at the top number, and that will tell me which one is bigger. And 12 is bigger than 9. So I'm going to say that 12 18ths are bigger than 9 18ths. And therefore, if I had to select the correct one, it is going to be 6 9ths. Okay, because remember we used the original fraction. Okay, so when we compare, we need to make sure that both denominators are the same, like we did in our big questions. That is very important. And we then just use our equivalent fraction knowledge, okay, and how we apply that. We need to then look at the largest denominator and see if the other numbers can go into it, which is what we did earlier. And if not, then we just have to change all to a common denominator. And the easiest way to do is just to say 3 times 9, okay? Right. So let's have a look at which one is larger. So we're going to follow these 3 steps, and then we're going to decide what we're going to do to work this out. Right. So for starters, we're going to look at the biggest number. Right. First of all, they are not the same denominators. So we're going to go look at the number that's bigger, which is 9. Can 3 go into 9? Yes, it can. So I'm going to leave that as 9. I'm going to make this an equivalent fraction. So what did I do to the 3 to get 9? I multiplied it by 3. Whatever I do to the one number, I need to do to the other number. So I need to multiply 2 by 3, and I get 6. And this will just stay the same because I haven't had to do anything here. I haven't had to change it. Right, now I look at the numerators, and it'll tell me which number is bigger because both my denominators are the same. So I'm happy. And now I can compare my top numbers. Right, so 6 is bigger. So 6 9ths is going to be bigger than 4 9ths. So if I had to look at the original fraction, 2/3 is bigger than 4 9ths. Right, let's have a go at these together. Which is larger? So first of all, are my denominators the same? No, they are not. So I go to the biggest denominator and I say, can this number go into this number? Yes, it can. So I'm going to make both numbers over 24. Okay. What did I do to the 8 to get 24? I times it by 3. So what must I do to the 2? I must also multiply it by 3. Okay. Remember, whatever I do to the one number, I need to do to the other number. So I'm just making an equivalent fraction here. So 2 times 3 is going to be 6. Okay. And here I've done nothing. 24 to 24 stay exactly the same. So 3 is going to stay exactly the same. And which one then is larger? I have a look at the top numbers now because my bottom numbers are exactly the same. And I can say 6 is bigger than 3. So therefore 2 8ths is bigger than 3 24ths. Right, just because now I have 3 different numbers does not mean I have to now panic and get all scared. Okay, I use the exact same method. So the first step is, are my bottom numbers the same? No, they are not. Step 2, find the biggest number. The biggest number is going to be 12. So can the other numbers go into 12 equally? Yes, they can. 2 can go into 12 and 6 can go into 12. So I'm going to make my bottom number 12ths. Right, what did I do to the 2 to get 12? I multiplied it by 6. So whatever I do to the one number, I need to do to the other number. So I'm going to times this by 6 and get 6. What I do to the 6 to get 12, I multiply by 2. So whatever I do to the one number, I need to do to the other. And what I do to the 12 to get 12, nothing. So I leave this number the same. Right, now that all my numbers are the same denominator, I can then look at the numbers that are at the top. And I'm wanting to know which one is smaller now. So I'm going to look for the smallest number at the top. And it is going to be 4 12ths. Okay. Just give me a second because my battery for my laptop is about to die. I'm going to plug it in quickly. Okay, sorry about that. Right, do you see if you can do this one on your own now? Okay, I want to know which one is larger. Let me just make that a bit neater for you. That is meant to be 2 6. Don't know what happened there. Right, so use the steps. First step, do they have the same denominator? No, they don't. Step 2, find the biggest number and decide if all the other numbers can go into that bigger number. If not, then take that bigger number and multiply it by 2 and see if the other numbers then can all go in. Then make equivalent fractions and then compare. So pause the video now and have a go. Right, so we're first going to start off with the biggest number, okay, because none of my bottom numbers are the same, so therefore I'm going to look at the biggest number, which is 9. Can 6 and 3 go into 9? Well, 6 can't go into 9. We can't make groups of 6 equally, so therefore we can't use 9 as the bottom number. So I'm going to take the bottom number 9 and I multiply by 2 and I get 18. Can all 3 numbers go into 18? Yes, they can. So I'm going to write 18 as my denominator. Right, and now I go make equivalent fractions. What did I do to the 3 to get 18? I multiplied it by 6. So I'm going to take the 1 and multiply it by 6. What I do to 9 to get 18, I times it by 2. So I'm going to times 5 by 2. I'm going to get 10. And 6 times 3 is 18. So I'm going to say 2 times 3 is 6. Right, and now I can compare them and decide which one is larger. I've actually got 2 fractions here that are actually equal to one another. They are equivalent, a third and 2/6. But I'm looking now for the largest fraction, and my largest fraction is 10/18. And so that is the original fraction here, which is 5/9. Okay, so use those steps. If you're getting confused, go back to that page where it has the steps to success. Use that to then answer your questions. Right, can you fill in your greater than, less than, or equals to? So again, using that same steps to success to answer these, okay, to compare them. So you're going to decide, right, do I have the same denominator? No. What must I do? Look at the biggest number. Can that number then go into that number? Yes, it can. How many times? Make equivalent fractions, compare, and then do the same for this question. So you guys have it go on your own now and see if you can answer those for me. So pause the video. And if you get stuck, go back to the steps of success, read them, write them out on your page so you have them there in front of you, and then you can follow that. All right, good luck. Great, let's have a look. So first step is, are my numbers the same at the bottom? No, they are not. So I'm going to make equivalent fractions, okay? I then look at the biggest number, which is 27. Can 9 go into 27? Yes, it can. So I'm going to leave 27 at the bottom. And then say, right, what I do to 27 to get 27? I did nothing, so I'm going to leave the 4 the same. What I do to 9 to get 27, I multiplied it by 3. So I need to times the top number by 3, which is then 9. And now I can quite clearly see which number is bigger, and the 9 is bigger. So I'm going to put my sign in, okay? And I'm going to say that 3 9s is greater than 4 27s. Right, now we have 3 numbers, and again, having a look at the bottom, they are not the same. So I have to then move on to my next step, which is making equivalent fractions. I go to the largest number at the bottom, which is 8. 6 will not be able to make equal groups into 8. So I'm then going to have to make an equivalent fraction for all 3. Right, I take the largest number and I times it by 2, which is 16. Okay, and still 6 cannot go into 16 equally. So I'm going to then go on to the next one, which is 24. And I know that all 3 numbers can go into 24. Okay. Right. So now I'm making equivalent fraction. So 3 times what equals 24? And 3 times 8. So whatever I do to the one number, I need to do to the other, which is 16. What I do to the 8 to get 24, I multiplied it by 3. So I'm going to multiply 5 by 3, which is 15. What I do to the 6 to get 24, I multiply by 4. So I'm going to multiply the top number by 4, which is 16. Okay, and now which numbers are largest? Well, again, we have 2 equivalent fractions. All right, so which fractions are the largest? It would be these 2. So sometimes you could actually have an answer of 2. All right, if this was a 5, then we would say 5 times 4 is 20. Let's just rub that out. And then which one of those would now be the biggest? 5, 6. Okay, these are actually equivalent fractions already, so they'd be equal to one another, but there you can use your knowledge. Right, if you need some more help, here's one last one. Otherwise, you're welcome to go and start your activities, so you can just fast forward. But for those of you who would like just a little bit more practice, here is another go. Okay, so we're going to look at putting these into order from smallest to largest. Okay, now we're going to use the same. I'm just going to do 1, 2. We're just going to use the same method that we've been using. Okay, so first need to be able to compare them. All right, and so if I have a look at these 3 fractions, they do not have the same denominator. So I need to go and have a look. Right, which is the biggest number? 12. Can these numbers go into 12? Yes, they can. So I'm going to make all numbers over 12. Okay, what I did for 12 to get 12, I did nothing. So I'm going to leave the 3 exactly the same. What I do to 6 to get 12, I had to times it by 2. So I'm going to times the 1 by 2, which is 2. And what I do to the 3 to get 12, I multiplied it by 4. So I'm going to times 1 by 4. Right, now that I have those 3 fractions, it is important now that I look that I'm going from smallest to largest. So which is the smallest number at the top, because now I can safely compare my fractions because I have the bottom numbers the same. So which top numbers are the smallest? Right, and what I suggest you do is, because you're having to order these now, is to write the numbers very small next to the fraction. So I know that this is going to be the first fraction I'm going to write down because it is the smallest. Then I'm going to find the next one, which is 3. And the next one is going to be 4/12. Now, very important is that I go and write the original fractions that they've given me, not the answers that I've worked out. So I'm going to go look at this fraction, and can you see we've been working out underneath? And I write down that one, which is 1/6. The next one, which was the second one, which I've labeled here, I'm going to go look above it, which is 3/12. And the next one that I wrote, which was 4/12, I'm going to look above it, is 1/3. Okay, remember that you just have to write the original fraction. Hopefully you managed to do that. If not, rewind, try it again, and see if that can make some more sense. Right, here are your activities today. Okay, remember here are your steps to success. So if you do need to come back and refer to this, please do. You've got different activities. So those of you who are feeling a little bit okay, you're going to do set A. Those of you who are feeling quite confident, you can do set B. And those of you who are feeling like you would like a little bit of a challenge, you can go on to set C. Okay, so you can just decide which one, and your answers will be after your slides. Now just remember, you need to write the original fraction that they have given you. Okay, so if you're ordering, comparing, you need to order the original fraction. So work out the equivalent fraction and then go and write the original fraction that you gave you. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go back in the slides and find the slide that is relevant to your learning. Right, here is set A. All right, so pause the video and have a go at those 13 questions. Here are straightforward ones using your equivalent fraction knowledge. What did you do to 2 to get 6? And what must you do to the 1? And then decide which one of those is larger, okay? Because you have bottom numbers need to be the same. Decide which one is smaller using the equivalent fraction knowledge. You need to make both numbers over the same denominator and then be able to decide which one is smaller. And you're going to order these fractions. So again, making sure the bottom numbers are the same. And then you can look at the top numbers and then write the original fraction. It is very important that you write these numbers as your answers. So have a go, and the answers will be after this. So pause your video. Good luck. Okay, here are your answers for set A. You will see that if you did not write the original fraction, you will find that your answers, although they might be correct in terms of the fact that you've given the equivalent fraction, are not going to be the same answers that match up here. So please make sure that you've written the original fraction from the question. Hopefully you've done really well. Remember to send your work to year 5 at thepalmeracademy.com. We would love to see your work, and we'll be following up with children who are not sending us work. So please make sure that you're doing that. Right, set B, if you are going to be doing the 2 chilies, here are your 13 questions, okay? Remember, using exactly the same steps to success. making common denominators, using equivalent fraction knowledge to then get your numbers at the top and decide which one is smaller. Find the largest in these questions and then order these from smallest to largest. And you must make sure you're writing these original fractions. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go back to the ordering question and see what I did and how I ordered them with the original fraction, okay? So good luck, your answers are after this slide. So pause the video and all the best. Super, here are your answers. You will notice here that if you did not write the original fraction that they gave you in the question, your answer might look different, although it's still an equivalent fraction. It's not the original fraction that they gave you, okay? So please make sure that you've written the original fraction from the question in your answer. Hopefully you did really, really well. Remember to send your work to year5@theparmeracademy.com email. We'd love to see your work and give you some feedback. All right, those of you who are doing the more challenging task, here are your 3 chili set C, okay? Find the smallest fraction in each list and write it down. Remember to write the original fraction. So you need to write one of these as your answer, using your equivalent fraction knowledge to work it out, and then deciding which one of those is the smallest and writing the original fraction as your answer. Start with the largest here and order them, okay? So again, working out, using your equivalent fraction knowledge to work out a common denominator for all of them, and then putting them into order and writing the original fractions in order. And here are some word sums. So hopefully you can manage that. So pause the video now and have a go. Right, here are your answers. Now it's going to look a bit strange if you did not write the original fraction from the question. So many of you might have worked it out, but make sure that you've used the original fraction knowledge. If you need to go back very quickly and go and make sure that you've written the original fraction, do that now before you carry on marking. Otherwise, see how you've done, and don't forget to send your work to year5@theparmeracademy.com email address. All right, I hope you guys have a wonderful week.